Hey kids, Cub Scouts from Pack 168. This is astronaut Scott Kelly, and I wanted to give you a message. Hey, I know things are tough right now. Got to stay inside. But this is our mission. It's almost like a space mission to me, where we are all engaged in something that is really, really important, and we're working together as a team. So keep your heads up, listen to your parents, your teachers, learn as much as you can in this time, because we have such a unique opportunity right now when we have a lot of time on our hands. So use that in a positive way. We will get over this. We will put this behind us. And what you do now will have an impact on the rest of your life. So take advantage of this time. Again, learn as much as you can and reach for the stars. Take care. Today I'm going to read to you my kid's book, My Journey to the Stars, that I wrote. And this guy down here drew the great pictures. So let's get started. It's been 340 days since I set foot on Earth. I've spent almost a full year living and working on the International Space Station, the ISS. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. I miss fresh air and the feel of rain on my face. I miss hugging my kids, my wife Amiko. At last, it's time to get into the spaceship that will take me home. I say my goodbyes to the team who has become my space family. Then I climb into my seat. The spaceship is so small, my knees are folded against my chest. My two Russian crewmates sit so close to me, our elbows touch. We can't touch elbows now. We all strap ourselves in tight. It's gonna be a wild ride. Just a picture. My perfect copy, my identical twin, is waiting for me back on Earth. My brother Mark and I are the only twins in NASA history. We were born on February 21st, 1964 in Orange, New Jersey. And I grew up in a town called West Orange, which is the same town where Thomas Edison made many of his inventions. Mark was born 6 minutes before me. Since then, we have spent our lives as partners, always ready for adventure. That's Mark. That's Mark. That's Mark. That's Mark. Next page. We grew up surrounded by family. There were Kelly cousins up and down our block. I felt so safe that Mom sent Mark and me across the street to mail a letter when we were only 5 years old. We walked to the corner to cross just like Mom taught us. After we mailed the letter, I walked back to the corner. But Mark, he was a daredevil. He crossed in the middle of the street. Then I got the scare of my life. My brother was hit by a car. I actually saw him fly up into the air. Be careful when you cross the street. Mark hurt his head. He was rushed to the hospital while I had to stay with our Uncle Joe and eat liver for dinner. Yuck, I don't like liver. Mark got better though and came home with a great story. I felt like I got the worst deal because of the liver. Mark and I always had a talent for finding trouble and taking risks. Sometimes we got hurt, but every time we took a risk, we pushed our limits and aimed higher. This was great training for the biggest risk of all, becoming astronauts. That's Mark in the ambulance. You can't see him though. Every weekend, Mark and I stayed with Grandma and Pop-Pop. That was his name, Pop-Pop, my grandfather. I think that's Polish. So Mom and Dad could go out. We loved our special routine, breakfast at a local diner and a day trip. New Jersey is the Garden State. And there were always amazing gardens to visit and flowers. Years later, I think about Grandma and Pop-Pop as I took care of flowers on the space station. Look at that. It's my grandma right there. She's no longer with us. At home, every day was different. My parents always didn't get along. That happens sometimes, especially when times are tough. But, times can always get better. But we never knew when they might start fighting. It was scary when they argued. My brother and I, Mark, would hide in our room. I think watching our parents fight turned Mark and me into peacemakers, I like to think. We can get along with almost anybody. We learn to stay calm in the toughest of times, and this has helped us lead our own cruise in outer space. You never know where your problems can become your strengths. I think we're seeing that today. This was the second crew I had in space. That person right there, that's Barbara Morgan. She was Christopher McAuliffe's backup, who died on Challenger. She's a teacher in space. She was great. My dad was a police officer. When I was 11 years old, Mom decided to become a police officer too. In the 1970s, police departments had just started letting women join the force. But first they had to pass the same tests that the men did. My parents may have fought a lot, but Dad still had Mom's back. And he set up a training course in our backyard so she could practice for this test. And I agreed to be my mom's practice dummy, pretending to be hurt so she could drag me to safety. Right there. That was me, the dummy. The hardest part of the course was the wall Mom had to climb. Every day she tried to climb over that wall. At first she couldn't even touch the top. It took Mom a long time, but she finally did it. She taught me a lot by doing that too. That we need to have goals that are hard, work hard at them, and be proud of ourselves when we're successful. And that's something that you guys can find too. When times are hard, maybe your schoolwork's hard. Just work hard at it and do better and be proud of yourselves. Back to the book. Soon after, Mom passed the test and became one of the first female cops in New Jersey. Her success showed Mark and me that if we had a plan, with small steps, we can turn a big dream into something real. Here's a real picture of my mom dragging me. I still didn't know what my dream was. I was a terrible student at the time. I couldn't sit still. I couldn't listen to the teacher. And I couldn't stop watching the squirrels out the window. Even so, Mr. Tarnoff, my principal, believed in me. He begged me not to give up. And years later, he was invited to both my space shuttle launches. That's Mr. Tarnoff right there. He's a great guy. During high school, Mark and I joined the volunteer ambulance unit in my hometown, and every night was different. We never knew what to expect. And riding in the ambulance, sirens screaming, was exciting. Most importantly, though, we liked helping people. I had finally found something that I loved to do. I wanted to become a doctor. But how was I ever going to get through college and medical school when I could barely sit still? That was a problem. I think that's me. I had more hair back then. This is the best hair for space, though. One day I went to the bookstore to buy gum, and a book cover caught my eye. It was the book The Right Stuff by Tom Wolfe. "Pick me up, open me," it called out. That book changed my life forever. It was so exciting, full of daring pilots risking everything to test the newest planes. How fast could they go? How high could they fly? Sometimes pilots crashed, but sometimes they soared. The best became the Mercury 7, the first astronauts. That's me reading The Right Stuff and the Mercury 7. Those guys are my heroes. I finally found my dream. I wanted to be a test pilot. And thanks to Mom, I knew how to make my dream real. I would create my plan. I would follow it step by step. Step 1, do my homework. Everything starts with the homework. Now that I had a goal, I was able to work hard and graduate from college. Step 2, join the Navy. Here I could learn how to fly. Mark, my brother, he started flight school too. I quickly learned that flying was fast and fun, but it wasn't easy at first. Here's me in the Navy. I was more handsome back then. I took a lot of risks as a jet pilot. I needed to see how fast my plane could fly and how good a pilot I could be. Flying a fighter jet was so hard. The first time I tried to land on a moving ship, I couldn't do it. But you know what? I didn't give up. In the end, I flew faster than the speed of sound, which is really fast. Then I was unstoppable. I wanted to fly higher and higher. To do that, I needed to go to space. Oh, here's my plane. I flew in the Navy, the F-14 Tomcat. Step 3, become an astronaut at last. Mark and I both joined NASA in 1996. Our class was so large, they called us the Sardines because it was like we were stuffed in a sardine can when we were all together. Here's Mark and me. I'm the better looking one. We each flew into space 4 times, him and I. We flew on space shuttles, a Russian spaceship called the Soyuz, and the ISS, the International Space Station. But we never went to space together in case something went wrong. Space travel was our biggest risk of all. That's my brother in space. That's me in space. Both on our first flights. Oh, actually, no, that's my second flight. I can tell because of the clothes I was wearing. I flew the Space Shuttle Discovery on a mission to fix the Hubble Space Telescope. That big one right there, that's Hubble. And I led the Space Shuttle Endeavour on a mission to make the space station bigger. But You know, all the space shuttle stopped flying in 2011. That was because we had an accident of the space shuttle to Columbia. Had some of my classmates on it too, who I miss, and the other crew members as well. Now the only way to reach the space station is to ride on a Russian Soyuz rocket. NASA's next big mission is to send astronauts to Mars. First, they need to see what happens when human bodies are in space for a long time. And twin astronauts were perfect for this job. So NASA asked me to spend a full year in space. No American had ever stayed in space that long. One twin astronaut in space, which was me, tested my brain, blood, eyes, muscles, and bones. One twin on Earth, my brother Mark, did the same thing. And NASA will continue to study us over time and compare the results. After my year in space, I stretched almost 2 inches and my eyesight got worse. But I'm almost back to normal now. There's my brother on Earth on the top and me in space. And we're getting flu shots. Very important, vaccines. Living on the ISS is very different from living on Earth. There's no gravity, so you float around. Floating sounds like fun, and it is. But tools you're using float away, and that can be annoying. Even your body can float away when you're sleeping. Looks like I'm juggling that fruit, but it's really floating. And here's a picture of me sleeping. I just want to point out that my hands are much bigger than those little hands that the illustrator drew. Just saying. But that's why the crew has to sleep in bags that hang on the wall or ceiling. I've slept on the ceiling. Drink through a special straw. My crew on ISS was so busy. NASA told us what to do all day so we could fit everything in. They told us when to eat, when to exercise, and when to work in the lab, the laboratory. We had 400 experiments to run. Many of them studied the effects of zero gravity on the lab rats, which was us, but also 20 mice that we had with us. We even grew plants in space. I like to water the flowers. It reminded me of seeing gardens with Grandma and Papa. I liked eating the lettuce that I grew even more. We were the first crew to eat fresh vegetables grown on the ISS. Here's me and my crewmate, Kjell Lindgren, eating the lettuce we grew. It's me exercising. My crewmate Terry Burtz, we were fixing a piece of important hardware. My crew on the ISS was so busy, NASA told us what to do all day so we could fit everything in. They told us when to eat, when to exercise, and when to work in the lab. We had 400 experiments. Oh, did I read that already? Okay, I think I did. Let's go to the next page. NASA did its best to keep our crew safe, but the ISS is at risk every minute. One crew, our crew, faced extra dangers during my year in space. First, we launched 2 unmanned ships bringing fresh food and supplies when one crashed in April and another exploded in June. Second, the ISS was almost hit and destroyed by space junk in July. Clearly that didn't happen. And third, we had to make an emergency spacewalk to fix the space station in December. Earth meant everything to the crew while we were so far away. We loved to look out the windows at our beautiful planet. From our perch 220 miles above Earth, we saw big cities glittering in the blackness of night and the sun shining on rivers and oceans in many brilliant shades of blue. Our crew wanted to share this beauty, so we hoped that our photos would inspire people to help protect our amazing home, planet Earth. Here's some of the pictures. That's Houston, Texas. That's where I am right now. Finally, my mission is done. It feels good to know that all the risks I've taken have brought humans one step closer to Mars. But now it's time to go home. Our Soyuz capsule is falling back to Earth at almost 1,000 feet per second. Gravity presses down on us. It's hard to breathe. It feels like going over Niagara Falls in a barrel, but while you're on fire. The parachute opens. The landing is so hard my head slams into the seat cushion. Then the hatch opens and strong arms help me out. The fresh air smells amazing. That's the Soyuz. And that's me. I look a little grumpy in that picture, but not really. Just my normal look. I get home. NASA pokes and prods me. After many tests, I'm cleared to return to Texas. I land in Houston and give my whole family a big bear hug. When I get home, I walk straight to my yard and jump in the pool with all my clothes on. The sights, smells, and sounds of Earth surround me. My year in space ends with my first shower and first night's sleep in a bed since I left the previous year for the space station. Ah, what an amazing journey. Well, that's it, kiddos. Thank you for inviting me into your homes to read to you. You can join others this week too. Tell your parents to go to readtogetherBetogether.com for updates. Do I miss space? Yeah, I miss space. But not maybe for the reasons you think. The reasons I miss space is because I miss my crewmates, the people I were there with. They were all great people. And I miss the work, something that is really, really important, something challenging. Something that you do together. And you know what? That's what we're all doing now. By staying at home, by washing our hands, by supporting each other. We're in this together. This is our mission. That's what I missed about space. I missed the mission. Now we all have a new mission. And you guys, you kids out there, the way you can help is you can support your parents because they're trying to do the right thing for you and the right thing for all of us. But remember what I said. You remember? Reach for the stars.